If you're about to spend your hard-earned money on an 8GB card in 2026, stop. Because this is the kind of decision that feels exciting on day one and frustrating 6 months later. Not because the card is broken, not because it's rubbish, but because you were sold performance without being told the compromises. And in PC building, the worst feeling is realizing you bought the wrong part after the return window closes. So before you click buy, let's talk about what 8GB actually means in 2026. Here's the reality. Modern AAA games today are regularly pushing 9, 10, even 11GB of VRAM at high settings. At 1440p or 4K, that number only climbs faster. And when you hit that VRAM ceiling, you don't just lose FPS. You get stutters, frame pacing spikes, textures popping in and out, and sudden dips in busy scenes, and that random little hitch you feel when you turn the camera about. Because once your VRAM is saturated and full, the GPU starts pulling data from system memory, your RAM, and system RAM is dramatically slower. And that's when the experience stops feeling premium and starts feeling choppy and budget. Yet cards like the RTX 4060 or 5060 are still being sold brand new with 8GB of VRAM. And that's at 2026 prices that are only going one way, up. And that's the real issue. It's not just about capacity, it's the cost at this point in time. Here's something most people miss. Average FPS does not always tell the whole story. You can have 80 FPS on average, but if you have 38 FPS 1% lows, then that's what you feel. That difference in the frame consistency, that's the hitch, that's the micro stutter. That's the why did this just freeze for a split second moment. VRAM doesn't just always destroy averages, they destroy consistency. And consistent frame delivery is what makes gaming feel smooth. Another thing people don't realize, textures are one of the biggest VRAM consumers. It's not your shadows, it's not your lighting, it's not your post-processing. It's textures, it's level of detail settings. And when you run out of VRAM, these textures are the first things you have to lower. You have to drop from high to medium or even to low. Now visually, it really does depend on the game. Some games, the difference can honestly be quite minor. In others, it is massive. Some games come out on release with issues where the textures can look like 720p on any other setting other than high or ultra. It really is developer or studio dependent. And if you're buying an 8GB card in 2026, you need to be comfortable with lowering your textures first. That will be your survival setting for PC gaming. And most people just don't realize that. I'm going to run through some examples on screen where we can see the VRAM requirements, but also what that means from a visual texture difference. However, there are some great videos out there. Hardware Unboxed do loads of great content that center in and around VRAM usage and the different performance requirements you get at various different resolutions across different games. This is just to give you a flavor of what you can see here and what to expect when using an 8GB card. Okay, we're going to start off with two games here. Starting off with Resident Evil 4 the remake. We've got the left hand side running at ultra settings with no ray tracing, and the right hand side is running at low. Both of these are running at 1440p, and we're using the village theme for this test. It's not perfectly synced up, but you can get the idea. Now on the left hand side, we quickly started at 10GB of VRAM, progressing through to 11 and soon up to 12 and a half. And then on the right hand side, we've started in and around 6GB of VRAM. The biggest visual difference here is that texture quality, but as we can see from the left hand side example, anything above that 8GB of VRAM, we're going to be using RAM and system memory to fuel that additional memory unless we turn it down. So coming to Cyberpunk 2027, again we're running at 1440p. On the left hand side we've got ultra settings, and on the right hand side we've got low. We can see here right off the bat though, we are underneath that 8GB threshold. However, the biggest difference I'm going to draw your attention to here is the image quality and that texture resolution difference. So you can see here on the left, we've got a smeary mess, whilst on the right hand side, this newspaper is clearly legible. But as we progress through these different scenes, we can see now on the left using ultra settings, we are starting to tip over that 8GB VRAM, and no matter how much you're tipping over by, you're going to start spilling over into the system memory, which will... Now, here's a more advanced point. When VRAM fills up, data spills out of that into system RAM over the PCIe lanes. Now, some 8GB cards are also running limited PCIe lane configurations. So now you don't just have low VRAM, you have slower spillover bandwidth. And this only compounds the stutter problems you see. It's not just lower FPS. As we've mentioned, it's that inconsistent frame delivery, and that suddenly breaks your immersion. If you buy an 8GB card today and you expect to max out on the newest games, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to have to make compromises. And that compromise looks like 1080p instead of 1440p or 4K. It's using low to medium presets for graphics instead of high or ultra. It's turning down those textures specifically. And it's maybe heavy use of DLSS or FSR. And also, you can absolutely forget about using any kind of ray tracing, and you're going to expect occasional dips. Now, it is game dependent. Some titles are fine. Others, they are already pushing the limit. And we haven't even talked about what the future looks like for gaming. Now, this isn't black and white, right? If you're a budget builder and 8GB is all you can afford, I'm not telling you to avoid PC gaming. A PC offers upgrade paths, game sales, versatility beyond just gaming, and productivity value. And that matters. But the choice here needs to be intentional, and you have to know what you're getting yourself in for. So here are 3 realities. Yes, you will be able to play some new AAA games, but as we've already covered, this is likely going to be at 1080p, low to medium textures, heavy use of DLSS, and turning down other settings and accepting the occasional hitch during heavy scenes. Not unplayable, just manage your expectations. Number 2, your library might not actually care. If you mostly play competitive shooters, esport titles, indie games, or older AAA releases, an 8GB card can do absolutely fine. There is absolutely thousands of games that are located on Steam where you don't need 12 or 16GB of VRAM. Just be honest about what you actually play. Number 3, this is the big one. If you're buying an 8GB card in 2026 for modern AAA gaming longevity, you're buying time. You're not future-proofing, and whilst I don't always recommend future-proofing, game assets are only getting larger, ray tracing uses up more and more memory, open world streaming is becoming more and more aggressive, and VRAM demands are going up, not backwards. You will find yourself likely needing to upgrade sooner than someone who stretched their budget to a 12 or 16GB card, and that's just the reality. And here's one of the things that hardly anyone speaks about. It's resale. When 12GB and 16GB become the complete standard, 8GB will depreciate a hell of a lot faster because second-hand buyers will already know the limitation of 8GB cards. Higher VRAM cards will likely hold their value for much, much longer. And anyone who's been in the PC building space for quite some time, that matters financially. Some of us thrive off being able to buy our new components by selling our older ones. The money you save today by choosing an 8GB card, but then feeling forced to upgrade in only 18 months' time, not only have you lost your resale value, but you've spent again and you've pulled the system apart, reinstalled drivers, and that initial saving, it's completely gone. Sometimes stretching and being a little bit more patient and saving your budget is cheaper than upgrading twice. It can be the smarter play. And I'm saying that knowing full well, my patience is often very, very limited. And when I want to buy something or I want to do something new, I don't want to wait 6 months to get there. I want to do it right away. So I'm telling you, having a bit of patience can pay off in the long run. But that being said, we know what's happening to the market right now. We know prices are exploding, not just for RAM, your storage, and also graphics cards again. So it might be in a couple of years' time, prices are even higher than where we are now. And no one can predict what their future is there. However, if prices don't dramatically increase, saving for that next tier card or next tier card in terms of VRAM might be the better overall saving. So what's the real problem here? It's not that 8GB cards exist, it's that in 2026 it's priced too close to better options, and if you could stretch even slightly further to 12 or 16GB, you're buying smoother 1% loads, more breathing room, longer usable lifespan, better resale value, and less tweaking every new game that comes out. That's not just about chasing FPS, it's about stability. As much as PC building is about tweaking the experience to your own personal preference, sometimes we just want to be able to download a game, switch it on and play, and not spend an hour trying to get it running smoothly. On that basis, I'm not saying 8GB GPUs are useless, I'm saying stop buying them without understanding the trade-offs. 8GB just isn't it anymore, and in 2026, at these prices, you deserve better. So if you're building a PC this year and you're stuck choosing a GPU, don't fall into the 8GB trap without understanding what you're trading off. Because the wrong graphics card is the fastest way to turn excitement into regret. So feel free to let me know in the comments what you're looking at. I'll do my best to help. Also, I'll drop some links below of some of my recommendations, and if you do have to choose an 8GB card, I'll also leave some recommendations there as well. But if this video helped you at all, drop a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.